Welcome to Make That Paper, the show where we talk about all the crazy jobs we do to make the cash we need to pursue our artistic dreams.
And for plywood and foam panels, because it seems like we always need a little more.
Today, we are chatting about the Babysitter Biz, plus the Secret Shopper Sitch. Then we'll head on down to the Department of Apartment Management. We are your hosts, Jamie Parker Stickle
and Jason Bieber.
And today we're talking to an incredibly talented stage, screen, and voiceover actor.
She dominates in the VO world and could be heard on campaigns for Caribbean Cruises and Coors Light, narrating your favorite audiobook. And in the video game space, she voices Kai Wenji in the hack and slash game Dynasty Warriors 9, along with so many of those games your kids download on your phone during your 5-minute power nap.
We are thrilled to be talking to her today. Please welcome to the show, the extraordinary Amber Faith. Yay!
Yes.
Yay! It's me.
It's me.
It's
No,
me.
it's you.
I mean, it was like a long time in the making, getting Amber on the show, because I wanted her on it sooner, and then summer happened and I realized, oh, we can't record over the summer. So thanks for saying yes a year ago, and just wait out this summer.
I mean, all good things are worth the wait, right?
Indeed. And this is the very best.
This is the very best. We're so excited to have you here. And I think one of the things that I thought was really funny is your spin on, we've had actors come on with jobs before that are not dissimilar to your list of hustles, but I think you have some of the best stories with your hustles.
I'm sure.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm one of those people, like, bizarre things just constantly happen to me. Yeah. My what was it? My friend Becca nicknamed me Murphy for a while, and I was like, what's that about? She's like, Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We might have to edit this part out, but there's a part that I really want to get to from your babysitting days. But before we get to babysitting days, let's talk about apartment management for one really quick. So I want to ask you this. We've had guests on who do this. Some of them have to pay rent and some of them don't have to pay rent.
So I do not have to pay any rent. They pay my rent of my 1-bedroom apartment, and they also give me a very small paycheck.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think I do a lot more work than those who just pay partial rent. I'm responsible for all of the paperwork, all of the notices, cleaning the building, taking people to eviction court.
Oh my God.
Processing applications, like everything. Collecting all the rents, doing the deposits. Like, I do everything for the building. It's a small building though. So
how many units?
It's 18 units, which is smaller than the last building I managed when I had someone else doing it with me, but this one I do by myself. And so it sometimes feels like a lot of work, but it's one of those feast or famine things. It's like for a week, it's like nonstop, constant. And then the next week I'll have like hardly anything. So in terms of how much I get paid versus the work, I kind of feel like it's exactly worth it. If it was slightly more work, it would not be worth it.
Yeah.
And if it was less work, I would probably be happy taking advantage of it.
Right.
But it feels about even.
So did you go from the previous place and this is the same owners, and so you just moved?
I sought out a new place because our last place was kind of over by Franklin Village, which is fine, but it was just getting kind of crazy, and I'm so glad we left when we did, because I was pregnant at the time that we moved. I was 7.5 months pregnant when we moved.
What a fun time to move and get a new job.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just like, hey, give me all these heavy boxes. I'm a giant lollipop. And but when I go back and I view the old neighborhood, it is very run down, I guess would be how I put it, kind of that specific area. So this place was kind of an upgrade, and it was an upgrade in terms of how much I was getting paid, because the last place we just got partial rent as well. So to go to getting full rent, and I have raised ceilings here, which really, can you put a price on like 13-foot ceilings?
Except when you're building an audio booth.
It's 9 feet tall.
That's amazing.
This business is 9 feet tall.
That's-
So, and there's still 4 feet to the ceiling. That's the crazy part.
It reminds me, well, you've always reminded me of like a classic actress, right? You know, like you have the bone structure and your skin coloring and your hair. So just putting that mic in front of you, I can, you know, it's like watching one of those movies where they're in the
So
radio
that's
doing
what
a live
changed
show.
for me in COVID.
Yeah.
I was like, the idea, sorry, I went into like voiceover voice. The idea of actually getting up, putting on makeup, finding some sort of ridiculous outfit,
Yeah.
driving to Ocean View in
Yeah.
Santa Monica, or what is that?
Yeah,
one
that's
called?
the one.
That's
Ocean
it.
View
Ocean View.
Studios. Yeah.
In Santa Monica, finding parking, going in, waiting, and keeping in mind that, you know, before I would like have a 2-year-old in tow.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, hey, strangers of Los Angeles, will you watch my child while I go in there?
Right.
And then driving the hour and a half back, I'm like, I can't imagine doing that anymore.
No.
Well, after COVID, I was like, that's it. I can't, it's never happening for me again. So I just switched to, I mean, it had been a long time coming anyways, switching to basically just voiceover, but that kind of sealed the deal for me. I was like, the idea of like all of that preparation to then go for 2 minutes and have a 1 in 1 million shot of getting a
Right.
car ad. I'm just like, eh.
Well, it's all changed now. Now I had one yesterday, didn't go anywhere, just set up the whole studio right here in the
Is that
living
how it is
room.
now?
Jack is my director. He works camera.
Nice.
He jumps in and does improv with me.
But I would say
Great.
this, some of them are still in person. I don't do
Yeah.
them either anymore. But but when Jack was little, I took him into the audition room with me. I never
Did
left
you?
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that is why. Well, I had really bad postpartum panic disorder, which
Yeah.
went undiagnosed for a long time, and then I couldn't leave him anywhere. Like I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Even driving with him terrified me. I was just afraid someone was going to hit us or something. But I would just take him in the room with me. It could have been my panic disorder, but it could have just been the fact that I was so, you know, like nonchalant or blatantly bold to just bring my child in. And if he cried, I was like, oh, just a minute, he'll stop crying in 1 second. I mean, I just did not, it just didn't, I mean, he wasn't a big crier, but like there were moments where he was like, oh, I'll come be in it, you know, like just crying like a baby, like just wanting to pick me up. I even let the casting director hold him once while they filmed my audition. And I was like, this is how it is. Like,
listen, mother first.
Program. Yeah.
Mother first.
Mother first.
But I have watched plenty of children for other moms when they've gone in. And I am always like, well, this is why I don't book.
Yeah. Well, God bless us all. Right. You know, I do remember like after like as a parent, when I would see other people, like you go up to them, you're like, hey, I'm a parent too. Do you want me to watch your kid?
Yeah. But
occasionally there wouldn't be any. And so I'd be like, hey, sign in person. Can you make sure nobody steals my baby?
So good.
But yeah, the best was, this is a fantastic story. So when Sai was a baby, he booked a couple commercials and then we took a break when he was going to preschool because I was like, be a kid. Yeah. And so then when he was like, I want to say 4, they asked if he could do stuff again. And I was like, yeah, let's give it a try. See if he likes it. Maybe he'll like it. Maybe he'll love it. So now knowing that he's been diagnosed with ASD, autism spectrum disorder, what they used to call Asperger's, but it's now called high functioning autism with no cognitive delays. The sense
I'm glad they made the name
it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Right?
So much easier.
But it was just like, so with that comes you're just very literal. And the sense of imaginative play is not like super on point. And so we went in and they were like, okay, so this is your grandpa and it's his birthday and we're going to sing and and then you're going to blow out the candle and you're going to clap. And they roll the camera. It's the sweet old man. And my son literally looks at the dude. He goes, you're not my grandpa. It's not your birthday. Like,
and cut
like,
and
I was like, well, I was like, well, there's that experiment with acting for my son. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go get you some STEM toys.
That's amazing. I do feel like Jack would have probably reacted the same way.
Yeah.
But because he has, when people have, well, our agents have asked us to submit pictures and stuff, and
We
I'm
just
like,
don't.
we just don't. I just,
If you
I
don't
was
want to,
like,
don't do it. Yeah.
I do not want,
No. Why would you want this life for your child?
I don't want this life for my
I
child.
want the free college. That's all I want.
Mm.
Yeah.
But we'll
Mhm.
get there a different way.
Yeah.
We'll get there
Yeah.
a different way. Yeah, I just,
Well,
it was
529 it.
it's such a drag. Like, I love this business. Listen, I mean, I think anyone who's been here for over 10 years, like, you're a lifer. Like, we've made it. You know, we are,
Mhm.
as Jason said, cobbling together a life as an artist, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's amazing. Do I want him to have this fantasy that it, you know, this is an easy life? No. So I'm sort of like, I don't want people telling you how cute you are and how pretty you are and that you should be doing this at this age and get it into your head for the rest of your
Mhm.
life. And then when it doesn't happen, because, you know, it's 50-50. If it doesn't happen, you know, you to be depressed. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't want it.
And I
Yeah.
think he sees us. There's no like imagination that it's like a glamorous life.
Oh no. He didn't even want to get in front of the camera. He's like, "No, Dad, I'm a director. I'll tell you what to do." The
Yeah.
other day.
Cool.
And
Like,
he's like
okay.
Always.
7. He knew his
He's
place.
he's like, I am, let's be honest, Dad, I'm a boss.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be
Mhm.
directing. So
You pull that thread, son.
yep.
Yeah.
I think
Look
that
at Holly behind you, Jason. Like, the hell.
Yeah.
This
right
is our house.
there.
Hi,
She's less.
doggy.
Yeah. She's super not interested.
No.
But I think she appreciates the mellow tone of my voice.
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, in the theme of what this show is about, that maybe we
Yeah.
pivot, and I want to talk to you for a second
You wanna
Talk about the
pivot?
topics.
about yeah, I mean, just for the
It's a thought.
listeners, you
I mean,
know,
just for a minute.
yeah,
For a second.
honor the sponsors.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm into it.
yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate your willingness to go with this flow. I wanted to ask you, and kind of not pivoting because we've been talking about kids, but before you were taking care of your own kid, you were taking care of other kids.
people's.
You were nannying.
I was. So in Chicago, I was a nanny for 2 different families. Both of them, like, basically from birth, like a couple weeks old,
Wow.
until they were 2-ish, I want to say. And then I would babysit other kids all around. And I did the kids club because I was in my early 20s. I did the kids club at the gym.
Wow.
Nice. Fun.
Yeah.
So
So I worked.
you were a lot of fun. The kids like loved Amber, right?
Yeah, I was cool and fun, and the interesting thing is that, like, older girls tend to like me because I'm not easy to impress, and so they're always like, "Oh, this girl,
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of a bee. I like it." Um, but yeah, but little boys, I've always, had really good rapport with, and my sister started having kids when I was 11, so, like, I've just been around babies my whole life, so it's kind of second nature, which is why, when you talk about, your postpartum panic disorder, I almost had the opposite, in the sense that I was so accustomed to children and I'd been around them so much that I was a little maybe too relaxed at some points. Like, when we did do the commercial shoot, Sai was 8 weeks old and they were like, so we're just going to walk around, and they were doing like just a moving camera, and they were walking through rooms, and the childcare person who was on set, like his well-being nurse, was like, are you okay with everything that's happening? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. He doesn't know what's going on. They're just passing him from person to person. She's like, how many kids do you have? And I was like, oh, he's my first. She's like, you are the most relaxed first time mom I've ever
Wow.
seen on set. I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, because my neighbors came over because I hadn't let anybody in the house. I didn't want anyone near him for like 4 weeks, Jason.
Yeah, we were
nobody
quarantined years
diagnosed me.
before.
Yeah, and nobody diagnosed me. Like, that's not normal. So I wouldn't let anyone in the house. Finally, our neighbor busted through the door. Like, all 3 women, like Elsie, Janie, Eva was there, and they just busted through the door. They've all had kids, obviously.
Mhm.
She's a grandma, and they busted through the door, and then I was holding him, and she just snatched him from my hands. She's like, "No, go." And I
Yeah.
was like, I was paralyzed. I was
Yeah.
paralyzed. Like, give me back my baby. Like, it was
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I can only imagine how terrifying that was in retrospect.
We're-
But yes, to go back on topic, I
Yeah,
was
sorry.
I was a nanny. I was a nanny for two different families, and it was quite an experience. I ended up moving in with one of them.
Ah.
Yes,
Oh,
and
so you
then
were full time.
for that at that point, yes.
Yeah.
And then the other one I was pretty part-time. It was just like 1 or 2 days a week. So I was doing them at the same time, and then I moved more to just that one.
Okay.
Which I think it was like 30 hours a week. And then I had like I would do like nightclub promotions at night and
Were
whatever
you
you got to do.
were you acting at this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was mostly doing stage, and then actually did quite there in Chicago. There's a lot of commercial print,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I have a very friendly face.
You
Yeah.
So
do.
I would do, yeah, I would do a lot of like commercial print stuff at that time. But yeah, I did some musicals in Chicago. Nothing fantastic, but it was always
Did you do the
really,
Fantastics?
I did not do the
Okay.
I did the
Fantastics.
Fantastics in college.
Oh,
I'm not proud. No.
yeah. Well, whatever. I
That's
mean,
okay.
I paid for my college by doing show choir. So
That's awesome.
there's yeah,
Wow.
which
That's
I don't know if
awesome.
I don't know if you've ever seen me dance. It was not great. It was not great. No.
Yeah.
We went to one wedding together, and I
Same.
believe it was in the town from Footloose, and no
Right. There
dancing was
no
allowed.
dancing allowed.
Right. No dancing allowed. Yep.
That was a interesting experience, that wedding. But I digress.
Yes. So yeah, I was a nanny for both of them for a couple of years when I lived in Chicago. And I was only in Chicago for maybe 2.5 years. So
Okay.
the bulk of my time there, which is interesting because my family is originally from outside of Chicago.
Mhm.
So I had, I guess in my mind, moved back, even though I'd spent the past 10 years in Kansas. So
So
Oh,
at some point you decided to move to LA with your acting. Did acting inspire the move?
I think that was a little bit that. I think it was mostly just with the person that I was with wanted to move, and so we moved cross country together.
Mhm.
Because I was just like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And I'm always up for an adventure. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's try it. And I'm glad I did, Now, I mean, I think I really didn't like it here the first 2 years because people
Yeah.
can be a bit weird, especially when you're coming from the Midwest.
Who,
It's
us?
quite an adjustment. It's a bit of an adjustment, but in retrospect, I'm glad I was up for the adventure because it has allowed for a fun career and an exciting life.
Yeah, and you're still here.
I
Like, you
am.
didn't leave. I mean,
I didn't. It's
that was
been
the biggest
quite
thing
a long time.
yeah, the big thing for me after my first year here is that most of the actors I had met were gone. So
They
it's
already
like
left.
I'd moved from Detroit. I was 23, and I moved from Detroit out here 22, and I didn't know anybody. And finally, like, getting involved in programs, acting classes and stuff, like, you meet people, and then their resources for paying their rent in a very expensive town and acting classes and working instead of going on auditions was futile. So they'd leave, and all of a sudden you'd have to make a new crop of friends. And eventually I just got exhausted from doing it, that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to meet any more new people. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna put my head down and audition and work.
I think it's
Yeah.
Hard. It's a
I
hard
think it's
job.
helpful, actually. It helps us maintain a certain level of shallowness that it's required in order to succeed here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never get attached,
No.
Yeah.
No.
Having emotional depth is not allowed here.
Yeah, it's not beneficial to
It's
anybody.
not beneficial. So when you
So
got here, though, did you end up finding families to nanny? Did you join one of those services? Because we have a lot of services here that
Yeah, no.
place families with
So
people.
my nanny gig in Chicago when I left did not end well. So
Oh,
I decided, yeah, I
what
decided that,
happened?
oh yeah, I can tell you the story.
Yeah.
I decided when I moved here, yeah, whatever. I don't, that lady. I just won't say her name.
Okay.
But when I moved here, I told my mother, I was like, I'm the next child I'm going to take care of is going to be my own. Like I'm
Yeah.
done with it. So yeah, so I was living with the family, and she was kind of crazy, and
Mm.
I won't get into like her coping mechanisms, but they weren't healthy. And so she had this like weird thing where it was like we were really close, like almost too close. And so one day we dropped her off. Like I think I drove her car and dropped her off at work. And then I came back with the baby and I was like, huh, like where's my phone? That's weird. Can't find my phone. Well, then she comes like rip roaring in. Now, keeping in mind,
She came
this
back
is
to
like,
the
yes,
house.
she took
Okay.
an Uber back to the house.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, this is a couple of weeks before I'm supposed to leave to move to Los Angeles. And so I've told her that I'm leaving. So in retrospect, my
Mhm.
amateur psychologist believes that this was her way of making it easier to say goodbye, because it was
Oh, God.
easier for her to hate me than it was for her to say goodbye to me. She comes rip roaring back in through the front door and chucks my phone at me. And she's like, the beep I have to put up with. And so it turns out she stole my phone in the car
Oh my gosh.
and
Don't.
went through my text messages, because I think this was before passcodes. Went through my or maybe I just didn't have one. Went through my text messages. I didn't know what she was talking about when she said this to me, because she had gone back 6 months
Oh my
worth of
God.
text messages through me with me and my boyfriend. And it was this text message, and it simply said, I can't believe the BS I have to do for this job. Now, I didn't remember even like writing that text. And so we get into like this huge fight. Like, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I was like, what is going on here? And she grabbed the baby out of my arms and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, you can get your stuff and get out of here. And I was like, oh, fun. And so I was just like, I didn't understand what was going on. So we talked it through and I was whatever. And then later on, I go back and I look. This is the ironic part. I wasn't talking about her job. I was a Coors Light promo girl, and I was in a silver bullet dress, which is not super insulated. And it was the midst of a Chicago winter. And they had me standing out on the street being like, come on in and try a Coors Light.
Right.
And I was like super like pissed off about that, because it was freezing and it was just like not cool. And so that was the ironic thing. I wasn't even talking about her job.
Right.
And but yeah, so after that experience, I just decided to go ahead and once she found a new person, a new nanny, I was supposed to train them, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and leave. And I took all my stuff and I moved out 2 weeks ahead of when I was supposed to, just because I was like, I don't know what this crazy woman's gonna do. So that
Were
was
you salaried or were you paid weekly, or how does that work?
I think it was so long ago. I'm trying to
Under
I just
the
want
remember.
to make sure
table.
that she paid you.
It was maybe under the table. It was definitely, I think it was hourly, but we had an agreed upon amount of minimum hours.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah.
And I just want to talk about that Coors Light job for a second. Like I did
Uh-huh.
one of those jobs too.
Uh-huh.
And I used to, when I was young, my acting agent would book me on those gigs. Yeah. My first
For
agent
real?
out here. Yeah, my first agent
Oh
out
my
here in
gosh.
Los Angeles.
It was warmer.
It was warmer
Yeah.
because it was in Los Angeles, but not
Yeah.
as warm as it is these days. But our evenings still got chilly. But still, I was like, I really would like to audition for shows. Like
Yeah.
this is stuff I would have done back home or in college.
Live modeling.
Through like, yeah. Which there were agencies that did that. And they said it in Michigan, you signed with a bunch of different
Yeah.
agencies. You weren't with
Yeah.
one. And they said like, oh, like I played a Bond girl for this like airline thing. And like,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
I
All
was
sorts
used
of
to the
fun stuff
gigs,
like
but
that.
they tell you like this is this. when I got to LA, I didn't expect to be doing that kind of thing. I thought I'd be going on auditions, and she just kept putting me in these.
I can't imagine paying a percentage of doing that job.
I think that we didn't pay it out of our check. Like she got it from
they
the
got
companies.
it on top.
Booking fee.
A booking fee, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was weird.
Now, you know what? I do have to say, I did complain about that one day, but for the most part, I absolutely loved that job. It was so much fun. It was my job, as I was like a 23-year-old girl, and I would just walk in and be like, "Hey, would you like a free beer?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'd love a free beer." Yeah. I'd be like, "Yeah, here you go." And then we would go around, and everyone that was like our supervisors were so nice, so chill. They gave us great pay. They gave us great outfits. I mean, come on, silver bullet dresses. Yeah. I wish I had taken way more pictures. You know, in retrospect, and anybody listening, it doesn't matter what you look like. If you're wearing a freaking cool outfit, doesn't matter what your body looks like. Take a picture, because in 10 to 20 years, you're going to want to see it. Right. And by the way, your body looks way better than you think it does.
Oh, so, I just said that the other day. Like, if you're in your 20s, who was I saying this to? Oh, I remember. I was like, everybody in their 20s should be walking around half naked. Yeah. I don't give a crap. Like, just love yourself at 20, because even in your 40s, like, go for it. But like in your 20s, like, you have baby skin. It doesn't matter how much weight you're carrying. Gravity hasn't gotten a hold of it. So you can be heavier, you can be skinnier. Like, you look good. Yeah. Everyone should know that. Yeah.
But I did. I loved that. I loved that job, and especially the best days as a redhead in Chicago on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh my God, no.
A bus came and picked me up at 5 a.m. in my silver dress, and I would literally get bussed from every Irish pub on like the south side to the north side. My favorite was Casey's, in case anyone was wondering.
It was a no effort bar crawl.
Yeah. Oh, I would walk in, but it was amazing because you get there at 6 a.m. and you would see a line, 6 a.m., like a line around the corner for people ready to party. And then I remember one time at 9 o'clock a.m., it's Chicago. So people don't give a, you know? And so at 9 a.m., I was calling 911. I was like, "Hey, a man on the street, Lower Wacker Drive, he just fell and hit his head, and he's bleeding profusely. So we're gonna need an ambulance." And it was something like 9:13 a.m. And I was like, "Yep, this is where we are. It's St. Patrick's Day in Chicago."
A new record.
It was fantastic, but I would just get mobbed on those days. But I loved it. It was great. Just handing out necklaces and free beer.
Let me ask you a question. When you got years later, when you're doing voiceover and you got to do the Coors Light campaign.
Yeah. I was just going to say that too.
Was there were they aware? Did you enjoy that art?
They did not know that. I said to myself, I said, you know, I know some people don't like Pete Coors because of his politics, but Pete Coors has funded a large portion of my living in the past like 10 years. Like, my paycheck has come quite a bit from Coors, so
I feel like you're
very thankful.
You have a third chapter coming.
Maybe. Hey, if you're out there listening, Coors, I definitely work with you again.
Hey, Pete, tune in and book Amber. She's ready for number 3.
I am always ready.
I think you could come in as an executive at this point.
Right? Yeah.
Why not?
Maybe we'll bring in Jack as a director.
He's available.
He's very good. But I love that he doesn't want to be in front of the camera. Like, he loves just telling people what to do.
Yeah, so does my son. Maybe it's a 7-year-old thing.
Yeah,
it could be.
How long after you came to LA did you and I meet?
I don't know.
It would have been
I'm very, very, very bad with time frames.
Amber and I have done 2 projects together, both of which she has rejected me.
Yep.
It's kind of our vibe.
And I might add, in both of which your body / chest hair was heavily featured.
Yes. Although I should say that only in one of those was it intentional, and the other, the chest hair, kind of
it was just sprouting,
made its own way onto
just
camera.
doing its thing. Yeah.
I remember people always wanted to feature that of Jason. There's another like music video he did for a comedian, and your chest hair was in like, I can't remember if you were in a unitard.
Middle-aged Jew love. Is that
Yes,
the one?
that was it. But I'll never forget, we were pregnant and we had your friend was pregnant at the same time. His wife was pregnant at the same time and they came over and I think you had a V-neck on and she freaked out and like they had to leave shortly after because she was so disgusted by your chest hair. Do you remember that?
It is intense chest hair. I will say. It
It
doesn't bother me. It doesn't gross me out, but
thank you.
You know, it's plentiful.
I don't remember ever disgusting anybody, but thank you for bringing that up. And I'll have to write them an apology note, I suppose.
You're welcome. Yeah. I just thought it was really funny, like what a visceral reaction she had to seeing
Some people really don't like body hair.
Yeah, some people are really weird about it. Like she was.
Yeah.
I mean, and her husband's like probably hairless and slimy. I don't want to know, but.
You're gonna have to remind me who this was because I don't remember this.
Slimy. Oh, I love that.
Everyone loves a good oiled up husband.
Who do you think I think is slimy of your friends?
Most of them.
Oh God, Jason. Well, that's true. All of them from college. But he was from college. It is one from college.
It is one from college. All right. Well, this is going to be a fun game for me.
Yes.
I hope he's not listening. Or
to answer your question, I have no idea. I'm gonna guess 2007, 2008.
Sounds right-ish.
Oh, did you meet at Ollie's place or did you meet before Ollie's place?
You and I met on Ollie's, I think.
Yeah, we met on Ollie's.
So that would have been 2010-ish because you and I had just broken up.
Oh.
And we started dating in 2009.
Okay, 2010. I'm gonna trust anyone but me when it comes to timelines because I'm the worst.
I'm really good.
Yeah, I'm very bad. Very bad.
I'm glad we put you together.
Yeah. This morning I asked Alexa how many days were until my son's birthday, and then I realized that I'd said the wrong date. My only child. I constantly forget his birthday.
Was it another important date, or did you just make up a random date?
It was just the day before. It's the day is 6, the year is 15, so it's like
we do that
6
too.
and the 5 get kind of mixed up.
You did the 5th of 2016.
Yeah.
We do. I do that with Jack all the time. For some reason, 2015 just is a weird date for me.
It's an even number too. It's like, how do we forget that?
It's weird. It's just weird.
I don't know. I try not to overthink it.
I want to know. We've had a lot of cater waiters on here, and cater waiters always have the best stories. Or waiters, like everybody has met famous people in this industry when they're waiting tables or catering for an event.
Yeah.
And it's always not pleasant. It's not.
Oh gosh.
But you had a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I don't know specifically which one I had. I've had many pleasant experiences. Remind me, is there a specific one that I mentioned?
Yes. It's the one. Somebody once, a groom at a wedding tried to get me to go home.
Oh, that was not.
I love that you call that a pleasant experience.
No, I didn't call that a pleasant experience. That was an interesting experience. Yeah, no. So I worked in catering. It was almost like a career. I could have made it a career because I did even like catering management. Like I would run like 700-person events and things like that.
Ooh, okay.
Let's be clear. But Amber has a pattern here that she's always in charge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She's a boss.
She's a boss.
It's possible. But I would also do like small parties, and the company that I worked for, we did tons of celebrities, and very seldom did I have a bad experience. And maybe it was just because the particular company that I worked for was like ethical farming, sustainable, and more expensive because of that. And the service was good, but it wasn't incredibly formal. It was somewhere in between. So the celebrities that I ran into were always fantastic. The best was I mean, I can't say names, but there was a
Woody Harrelson.
Small petite blonde actress we were doing a birthday party for another celebrity, and so there was tons of celebrities there, but the small petite blonde actress was sitting on the kitchen counter, and I constantly had to like ask her to move, and she would just like lift up her butt so I could reach in and grab a tray, and I was like, this is a thing.
It's a weird place to keep
everybody
the
was
trays.
very nice under her butt. You know, it keeps them warm. Keeps them nice and warm.
It's that thing where it's like, I'm just Jenny from the block. Like she was
Yeah.
just being Jenny from the block. She's
Was it
like,
Jenny from the block?
It
no.
is Jenny from the block a small petite blonde woman?
Yeah.
I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah, yeah. All of like honestly, I've had nothing but great interactions
That's
with
right.
celebrities, with the exception of one talk show host, who you would kind of think would be kind of a jerk, and he was. So
Yeah.
it was just like, okay,
Does he
can't win
wear
them
a
all.
mustache?
No.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it is a boomer white male, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course it is,
Yeah.
because that's how they
Yeah.
were for the longest.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised. This guy's not he's not a conservative. But that was definitely one of the most interesting experiences. Was I was doing a wedding. It was at this venue in Culver City. It was this very big, lavish wedding, and probably cost, I don't know, $140,000. And the bride and the groom danced and whatever. And I was in charge of the dessert station. And the groom kept like coming up and like talking to me or whatever. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And keeping in mind, when we're working these weddings, we're not looking super attractive. We have on all black and an apron.
Mhm.
And
Utilitarian.
Yeah.
they want to
Your hair
hide
is
that you're a
usually
human
up.
being.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like attending the dessert station, whatever. And then drinks keep happening, more drinks, more drinks. And then the bride leaves at the end of the evening to go to, after a lot of weddings, they'll do like an after party.
Yeah.
So they had like a nearby bar that so she was going there first, and then everybody was going to come meet. So this is like the end of the night, and everybody's like getting the stuff together to leave. And the groom came up to me and was like drunk at this point, but tried to take me home. And I was like, didn't you just get married? Isn't your wife of 4 hours waiting for you at a bar like 2 blocks away? And he was like, well, we can forget about that. And I was like, that's going to be a hard pass for me, friend. Hard pass. But thanks for
Wow.
the offer. This is going to be a great story to tell on a podcast in 7 to 8 years.
You start to form, that was your work environment. 4 hours he felt he knew you and he wanted to take you home. But there is a thing that happens when people go to work where they call them their like work husbands or work wives.
Yeah.
And I see so many people misidentify that relationship as the one they are supposed to be in, or like, it's wild watching people cheat, and I don't know. It happens a lot. I think this thing where we work from home now is more from home, or flexi is probably better, because then you don't have to have the work spouse. You have your actual spouse. Not
Yeah,
too far away.
I had a work husband, and we did not ever cheat, but he and I worked on a food truck together, and everybody always assumed that we were husband and wife, and I would just be like, nah, he's too short for me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm not really close to the people I work with, but I'm very like, it surprised me if anybody called me anything but asexual, because I like keep such complete boundaries and neutrality.
Well, that's the thing, is like me and the work husband, we were very close. We still are very close friends.
Yeah.
I see him and we talk all the time, but always had good boundaries. I've always had.
I always thought I was your work husband, but then I realized I was actually your work ex.
Right. You're my work,
reject. Your work reject. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so funny, that and everything. That was what I will say, of all the times I've been on set, that was one of the most pleasant surprises. When I walked on set and I was like, hey, and he's like, I'm gonna be your date. And I was like, that's so great. How rad.
that was a really, who was that? The director was I was just chatting with him. Pete Chatman. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun shoot.
Harmony commercial. Yeah, that was so good.
Yep.
So good.
Yep.
It's been on my reel until like recently.
You know what? Actually, you have to send it to me because I can't find it anymore.
I've got it.
I wanted to show it to someone the other day.
I've got it. I'll send it to you.
But but now what I think is so interesting is that at some point, and I think, was it pre-COVID? Was it when you had your son, you stopped doing those side hustles and your voiceover career has become full time? Like you are making a living as a voiceover actor, which is
For the most part,
incredible.
so I still do the apartment managing, but life is expensive.
Yeah.
Especially in Los Angeles, but I do make most of my money now doing voiceover. And it's interesting because you were like, should we plug any upcoming stuff? And I'm like, the truth is that I think I'm one of the last remaining like journeyman actors. Like I just make a living at it. And a lot of the stuff that I do is I don't even ever see it because I do a lot of overseas stuff.
Mhm.
So it kind of started, so I was a personal assistant to someone, and one day we were supposed to do a voiceover thing for the short film, and the voiceover actor just didn't show up. And so he's like, "You do it." And I was like, "All right." So I did it, and he's like, "You're actually really good at that. You should like look into doing that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was already an actor, and so I was like, "Yeah, I'll give
Yeah.
it a try." And then it just sort of morphed. I did like this horrible, which I still one of my favorite things, this horrible like ambulance chasing law firm commercial where it was like this woman looking out she's like, "Bye, honey. Bye, little sweet baby boy." And then she's just doing the dishes and she looks and you hear this horrible like screech crash and she just looks up and looks out the window and it's just me like, "They were just going around the corner." It's just
Oh my
like
God. I love
it
that
was the
stuff.
best. It was the best. So I did like a couple things like that. But then when I was pregnant, probably one of the last things I did where I got an audition for myself instead of through my agent, um, I auditioned for this like dubbing studio that was like up and coming. And I don't know, I did that and then kept doing it and then got better at it and then was really experienced at it.
Yeah.
And then through that studio, I started working at other voiceover dubbing studios. So it's like for all the different streaming services where you just click on English for,
Mhm.
like I didn't do Money Heist, but like, that was a more famous one where they dubbed it into English and like re-released it here. And then I started eventually doing cartoons and I do a lot of, I do dubbed cartoons and then I started doing some original cartoons that are for overseas. I have done a couple of smaller parts in cartoons that are like American originals, like on Netflix and things like that. But just word of mouth, people recommend me because I think I'm easy to work with and I'm fast. So for the dubbing world, that's kind of an important thing. So that's sort of how I've gotten most of my work and it's just steadily been more and more and more and I feel really lucky and really blessed to be doing that stuff. I do enjoy the cartoons a lot, but it's
Yeah.
nice to do a variety of different things.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing the course commercials. I've done, the little cute little games on your phone. I've done like a million of those, which I can never find. Like, that's the
Oh,
interesting.
they're
I
all
can
on Jamie's
find
phone.
them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my son
Yeah.
downloads everything onto my phone. I don't even know that he's done it, and I'm like, geez. He does ask
Hmm.
if it says that there's pay, so I'm proud of him because I'm always like, no, it has to be
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. I have a passcode and my son cracked it.
Oh
Yep.
He
yeah,
like, he
he's cracked
watched
all
me.
mine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I tell him the same thing. Like you have to ask me if it's for money.
yeah,
But yeah, I do a lot of those and then done a couple of video games. So it's just, it was just like this gradual increase of just more working. And then during the pandemic, I was one of the few people that just kind of kept working at my studio. It's fantastic. I have it for the rest of my life. So technically we're part of the television industry.
mm-hmm.
And so I had this great letter from one of the studios I worked with the most that was basically like, if a cop stops you and asks why you're out, you have papers. You have papers to prove why you can be out on the street.
You're an
And it was
essential worker.
it says Amber Faith is an essential worker in the television industry.
That's amazing. Because there
is
was
exempt from the whatever stay-at-home
the
order under
lockdown, yeah.
whatever code. And it's fantastic and signed by them. I was like, I'm keeping this forever.
Like you literally had to have papers to go to
Mhm.
work. That's crazy.
Yep. In case no one ever stopped me, but you know.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, those were my favorite days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like when it was like, no, I may not leave, so I'm
You
not
may not
going
leave
to.
your home.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
It was
Everyone was
only
like,
when everyone started going out and we were still home. I was like, oh,
yeah.
now I feel like
You
because
gotta leave your
everyone,
bed now.
yeah, I can't, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm missing something.
Yeah. My mom was like, are you worried at all? And I was like, well, I show up and they've sanitized a small padded room for me and I have no coworkers. So not too concerned.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something about that and about recording from home. And it's
Uh-huh.
about like, I know we just keep coming back to kids, but I think we have that in common and we have to. How
Uh-huh.
does it work? Because like when you're recording at home, like right now, what
Mhm.
or Sai in school right now?
Sai's at school.
Okay. Do you just either record when he's at school or at night? Is that just your schedule, or do you like have
For
him?
the most part. There are times when I will get like a same day audition, things like that, or believe it or not, like weirdly, some of the overseas stuff, especially for dubbing,
Mhm.
will they have these super tight deadlines. So if they're like, hey, we're missing a line, can you just record it from your home studio? And they'll send me the link with the video and everything. And so I'll record a couple. So if I do that, so my booth is on the far southwest side of my apartment, and his room is on the far northeast side of the apartment. So I just say, hey, can you go in your room, close the door, put on your headphones, and watch something for 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
But I will say that there has definitely been a few times, and it is the creepiest thing in the entire world, where I'm recording an audition and I come out of here and I open the door and he's just like, hi. And I'm like, were you listening to me? He's like, yeah, I was listening to you. You were making funny voices. And I was like, yeah, that's my job, dude. But he'll like creep up and like silently listen. But the booth now especially is so soundproof that I don't even like hear him. So maybe I do need that window, right?
That's what the window's for.
See my little creeper.
I
But
would love to
yeah,
watch you carve a window in that.
You know what?
yeah,
Cheaper than a window is just throw up a couple cameras around the apartment.
I do have a camera in his room and sometimes I pull it up, but it's usually so quick. But for the most part, I try to just record whenever he's gone.
Mhm.
And luckily my son is at the best school in the entire world. So they have an after school program that I really trust. So on days that I need
Nice.
to record, I can leave him there up until 6 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Great.
And then
That's great.
he goes to bed, fairly early. So if I need to record in the evenings or early in the morning, I can do that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I try and do that, but I'm shit after 8 o'clock. I just don't, I can't do it.
As a general rule, so am I. So what I do is if I have like a significant amount to record, I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and do it then if it's something that's
Wow.
due. Because a lot of voiceover auditions, I don't know about other people, their experience. My agent is fantastic. I love her, by the way. But I get my auditions kind of towards the end of the day or in the evening, and they're due usually around 9 a.m., sometimes later. So if I think it's going to take me longer, than I drop off my son between 8 and 8:30. And if I think it's going to take me longer than a few minutes to do the audition, or I get a couple of auditions, I'll wake up and I'll record at like 5 before he wakes up, and then save the editing for after I've dropped him off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I've been known with the time change for sure, because there's a significant time change with like here in Dubai. I'll be like,
Yeah.
if you guys want, like I'll work at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's fine. Like time is just relative. So just sleep in the afternoon or whatever. So I've been known to do that. And then, same thing with like working. I sometimes work a lot with places in like Korean clients and things like that. So it's kind of all over the map in terms of like when I record.
Yeah. But how much of professional recording are you doing in in your home studio versus going to, like, I know you do all your auditions there and some one-liners if they need them, but how often are you going to an actual studio, or are they trusting you now to record the actual work from where you're at?
So just because of my preference, because I like to get out of the house, because you know,
I do now too.
because
I prefer
I'm here
teaching outside of the house now.
Yeah, because I'm here with my kid all the time.
All the
So
time.
yeah, so I'm just like, I prefer to go to the studio, and also it is nice to have the director and not to have, it's interesting because we as actors are now expected to be our own studio engineers and
Yep.
Yeah.
editors and things that aren't really conducive to right brain thinking people. So sometimes it's really nice to not have to deal with like my levels and the gain and how many decibels of quiet you have and blah, blah, blah. And also they have air conditioning, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
Because if I
Yes.
turn on my fan, I don't know if you can hear it. Sounds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had to turn
So
my fan off too for this, and was like, oh, I
yeah.
gotta turn the
So it's
fan
just
on.
like, so I prefer to go in studio. I could do more from here, but then there are platforms that I work on, both dubbing and original content, and some private clients that I work with overseas where it's not an option. I have to record from home.
Got it.
So I would say probably 80% of my work is still in studio, which is my preference, but 20% is now in my home studio, and it's nice now that I have the proper setup.
That's a really, that's a nice balance.
It is a
Right?
nice balance. I was
Yeah,
gonna
it
say,
is.
that's great. It's
That's
Yeah.
like in corporate America, that's what they're offering people is 4 days at the office and 1 day at
Yeah.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like every 10 sessions, 2 of them are from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to, because we've taken up a lot of your time, and I before we take too much of it, I don't want to miss out on this one other job you talked about having, that you ran, not just did, but ran, Boss Lady.
Yes. Boss lady.
Hashtag Boss Lady.
Hashtag Boss Lady.
A secret shopper business.
I love that.
I did.
Was that in Chicago? Was that here?
That was here. That was here.
Tell us all about this.
Okay, so it was a very interesting job. It never paid amazingly well, but the benefits were great because you got to eat and drink for free. But so I started out as just a shopper, and then eventually more ended up running the company. Well, not the owner,
Did you
but
get
like
this job off Craigslist?
I did, for sure. Which is like,
Really?
90% of the secret shopper things on Craigslist is a scam, but this one was real. And so
Okay.
we worked with bars and restaurants only, and because I had bar and restaurant experience,
Mhm.
it was one
Coors Light
that
girl.
Yep. Well, and I also catering.
Yeah.
And I worked in restaurants too. But so we would go to bars and sit at the bar and watch they had us go for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it was theft, which was, interesting. And I actually got really good at that. I know every way to steal from a bar. And sometimes it was recipe inconsistencies or overpouring. Sometimes on purpose. Sometimes it was just like the girl was 21 and so cute, but had never poured a drink before in her life. And she was just like, here you go, 8 ounces of tequila and 1 splash of soda. And so they would go back and like retrain people after I would get the reports. And then sometimes it was like terrible customer service.
Mm.
And then sometimes it was like food consistency, so I would go into these places. I'd stay for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, go back, write a report. And then I started reviewing other people's reports. And then I started scheduling people. And then eventually I was just doing all the things. And then I sort of passed that off to someone else after a while because it was a great job, but it just wasn't quite consistent enough. But there was one time that I got to go to Palm Springs and secret shop an entire resort.
Oh,
Dude, it was amazing. I was there for 5 days. 5 days.
Okay.
And it was everything, like customer service from like the front desk, the room cleanliness, the room service. I went to every single bar and restaurant in the entire place. And the poolside service, which was pretty rad.
Can you say which resort, or is that?
I can't.
Okay. All right.
It starts with an R. But it was a really nice one. You know it.
I know it.
You know it.
I've been there.
It's so great. And it was so fantastic. And then I went to every single bar and restaurant there and all of the things. And it was so much fun. I had the best time.
Did they give you the money in advance of doing that? Or did you?
No. And so that was that was one of the issues, was that you were out for 6 weeks, the money. So the room was comped, you know. So when I got there, I didn't have to pay for the room ended up getting comped, like whatever.
Yeah.
But all of those bars and restaurants, you would spend your own money and then get reimbursed. Now I have always been very good with money. So it was never like a huge issue for me, because I was never like paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I always had some money to float. But for some people, they would end up quitting doing it because they were floating too much money to work consistently. And, you know, the pay wasn't that great for the amount of work that you were doing, to be honest. But the perks were it was just a really fun, interesting job. And I did end up getting on the list for a lot of clubs and stuff in Hollywood that I never would have been able to get into otherwise. It was like me at like places I can't say, but like basements, bars that don't exist anymore, where it was like a bunch of celebrities and there was like the max 20 people in the room. So it was a pretty fun, interesting, and rad job. I did enjoy it.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I don't think I'd have ever felt confident enough to do that job in terms of how cool I am. If it was me and 20 celebrities in a room, I'd be like, they probably are all wondering why I'm here. Why is she here? And I'd totally blow it.
That's the whole thing about being the only unknown in a room full of celebrities. Everyone wants to know. They know about everyone else. You're the one who's intriguing.
The key is to not dress too fancy.
Right.
Because people with money dress fancy. People with real money wear a t-shirt and a pair of Levi's.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to have to hang up this episode because I need names. And Amber's not going to say them on the air.
I've got a running list of things I need to verify.
Yeah.
This was so good.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on the show.
Here.
Yeah.
One, for making time, because I know how busy you are. Two, I'm just delighted to see you because I've always been a fan. Like, you know, we've had only limited amounts of hangouts, and it's always with a large group of our mutual friends. So I never get to like just have her all to myself. And
you still don't, because
was it everything you dreamed it would be?
It was everything and more. And now I'm not done. I want more. But I know how busy you are because I also have a 7-year-old, and like it's you know, getting work done, taking time out to do someone's podcast, getting back to work before you have to go to the school and pick that child up. It's a lot. And I just really appreciate you saying yes and showing up for us. Thank you.
Happy to be here. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Why is Bieber not saying anything?
Oh, well, because I already said it, and I'm trying to find like an ending point where sometimes when we end episodes,
and
like,
conclusion.
Yes. Oh God, damn it.
Would you like me to narrate us out?
Yes.
That would be an amazing
Amber's going to narrate us out.
Let's do that.
And then the three of them looked at each other, and they realized that although it had been fun, their time was coming to an end. So they briefly nodded, picked up their fingers, and placed it on the red leave button to speak again at another time.
She showed on Monday, made love on Tuesday, on Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday, but now I'm losing ground. You call me lazy, you think I'm crazy, so why'd you come around? She want my money, but I got no money. This ain't no savings and loan.